Also, when I said that I can't rank these in order, it's hard because literally I'm still processing all of the authors and the people that I met, because if you'd have told me I was meeting all of these people, I would have said you're nuts, there's no way. So we're at the part of the haul where I'm going to show you some of my absolute favorite stuff. And again, these aren't really very organized. They're not, well, not that they're not organized, they are organized, but it's really hard to, like, rate the books that I was obsessed with, because, like, all the books that are in this pile I was obsessed with. So, like, they're not in any particular order. So this is the last book that I have from Harlequin, and you might guess it if you know Harlequin authors, and you might know. You might know this thing called the Polycon. You might know this author named Jennifer L. Armentrout. So this book that I have is If There's No Tomorrow by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and it comes out September 5th. And like I said, that's a very popular book date, so just remember that. It's a very popular book date. But I actually got this book signed to my friend because she's absolutely obsessed with Jennifer L. Armentrout, and so I told her, actually I didn't tell her. I was like, oh, I actually didn't know, because I was actually a different author. I think I remember who I was at, but I don't remember for sure. But I was at a different author before this, and the line started like an hour, a half hour before her signing started, and I was like, there's no way it's gonna happen. They only had 100 copies, and I think I was 96 in line, because I went by the booth. I was like, I'm just gonna check to see and make sure that, you know, all the tickets have been given out for the book, and there's actually 4 left, and I was excited about it, and I'm actually gonna give this to my friend, so I'm not keeping it, but I'm still going to include it in the haul because it is here, and it is a copy that I did get at BookExpo. So this next book that I have is Ringer by Lauren Oliver, and again, I didn't think I was actually going to get this book because I was at a different signing before her started, and I went up to the lady and I was like, is this signing still open? She's like, yeah, it is. I was fully expecting her to be like, no, are you kidding? You should have been here like 2 hours ago. But no, it actually worked, and I got to meet her, and she actually signs both sides. So I have this side and the other side signed, and I actually still have not read Replica. I don't know how. I don't know. I think I like the idea that you switch sides, but it also, that like is a scary idea for me, so I haven't gotten there yet. But also, my mom, when I showed her this book, my mom looked at all the books that I got after BookExpo, and she's like, Kylie, this is 2 books. And I was like, no, it's 1 book. But she's like, Kylie, there's 2 sides. And I was like, yes, Mom, let me explain something to you. So then I met Adam Silvera at BookExpo and BookCon. I actually met him twice, so I'm weird, I know. So this book is More Happy Than Not. You might have heard of it, but I got my copy signed that I read, so I'm really excited about it. And he signed it, and again, I met him twice, so there'll be 2 pictures of when I met him and all the things. And this was when I met him at BookCon, because he signed this one, and then again, he signed History Is All You Left Me, and again, you see my name because that's so they can personalize it. And he signed both my books, so that was good. It was good. I actually just had a dream that I just ruined the copy of History Is All You Left Me that he signed, and I almost cried. I woke up and I was like, that wasn't cool. That was an awful dream. And then I also met the author of, he's the author of, like, what is he not the author of? I met Scott Westerfeld, the author of Uglies and Afterworld and Zeros and all these things, but I actually got him to sign Peeps, and he wrote Parasites Rule. And I asked him, and he's like, oh, some Peeps love, and I was like, yeah, Peeps is like my favorite book by you. And I was like, do you not see it very often? He said no, he doesn't see it as often as you like. So if you're a Scott Westerfeld fan, you haven't read Peeps, go read Peeps, it's amazing. And then I met Colleen Hoover, and I got her to sign some books, and I didn't know, but this is again another tip that I would include in my BookExpo/BookCon tip thing, is that some books, some things you go to at BookCon that are ticketed author-wise, you have to buy a book to get a signature. So Adam Silvera's, you didn't have to buy a book, you could just get him to sign your books. And the limit of books was 2, because History Is All You Left Me and More Happy Than Not. And for Colleen Hoover's, it didn't say how many books you could bring, so I just had assumed that you bought 1 book and she would only sign 1 book. Well, then we got in line and they're like, oh, she can sign 7 books. And I was like, 7? If I would have known that, I would have brought some books from home and only purchased 1, but I thought it was, since they didn't say how many you could bring or how many you had to purchase, again, it's just so confusing. But again, I just had assumed that you had to buy 1 book, and that was the 1 book she's going to sign, because it's Colleen Hoover, who has time for her to sign 7 books? But then there are people that just, brought books anyway, and they had her sign them, and that makes me mad because I had a bunch of these copies, and I actually have all these books here, but I bought another copy of them just because I needed something for her to sign. So I was so mad, and I bought 3 books because at the time they only had 3 different books. They had It Ends With Us, Maybe Someday, Ugly Love, and then they end up bringing Confess out later. But they didn't say that they're gonna have Maybe Someday. Again, the whole thing was just confusing and it was just a mess. But regardless, I met Colleen Hoover. I bought 3 books because I was like, will I ever meet Colleen Hoover again? I don't know. So we're gonna get 3 books. So I got It Ends With Us signed. I got Maybe Someday signed, and then I got Ugly Love signed. And I'm not going to show you the signatures because they're literally all the same, but she signed all 3 of these books, and I'm excited. And it was cool to meet her, and it was great, and I'm a fan. And this was an author, so again, the confusing part. This author, I won't say who it is yet, this author has 1 book. But online it said you could get him to sign 3 books if you wanted to. So I was like, what does he sign if he only has 1 book? And yes, his book has been turned into a movie, so I guess you could say you could bring the DVD of that book if you wanted to. I get that. But again, this is one of my all-time favorite authors, so I had 2 copies of his book. So then I just bought a 3rd one. I bought the movie cover there so that I could get him to sign all 3 books because he's tied up there with John Green of my favorite author, and also he's only written 1 book. And you might know what book that is if you know anything remotely about me and my 2 favorite books. My 2 favorite books. Ready? The Fault in Our Stars by John Green and The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Everybody in line was talking about how no one had expected Stephen Chbosky to be at this signing or at BookCon because I can't even speak right now. Most authors at BookCon are authors that have new books coming out or books, their debut author, so they want you to read their book. He hasn't really done much. I mean, he's done movie stuff, like he's helped with the Beauty and the Beast screenplay, and he actually, the reason he was probably there is because he helped with Wonder, the R.J. Palacio book coming out, so that's why he was there. But again, no one expected him to be there because he hasn't written anything since this book, and this book came out in like 99. So then he made fun of me because I had him sign 3 books, but I was like, bro, this is my favorite book of all time, basically, so, like, you don't understand. I never would have ever thought I'd meet you. I could maybe see meeting John Green because John Green has multiple books, and he just is a cool dude, and he does YouTube stuff, so I could see him being at BookCon or BEA, and again, I'm just rambling because I still can't believe I met Stephen Chbosky, and it was nuts, and he was actually so cool. Like, some authors at BookCon, and it's not really their fault, it's more the way BookCon is. There's so many people at BookCon that they literally will talk to you for like 2 seconds and they'll move on. But Stephen Chbosky actually talked to me for like a couple minutes, and it was amazing. It was incredible. Also, I was like one of the first people online. So the first one says, Kylie, what an honor to meet you. And I don't know. No, my most treasured copy is actually this one, but I'll go with the movie cover one next. And then this one says, You Are Even More Infinite, because my first one says You Are Infinite, because he asked me what my favorite quote was of the book, and I was like, that's hard, because if you can kind of tell, I have my favorite quotes in this book highlighted, and I told him, I was like, if you want to find my favorite quote of mine, just look at all the highlights in this book. But he wrote You Are Infinite. He asked me what my favorite quote was so he could write it in my book, and I was like, I can't think of any quotes right now because this is insane that I'm meeting you. But he asked me what my favorite quote of the book was, and I was like, the whole book? I don't know. And then afterwards, the night before I was going to bed, I looked up quotes in the book. So I was like, the only quote in the book is, I again can't talk. The only quote from the book is not, and in that moment I swear we were infinite. There's, we accept the love we think we deserve. And again, I don't know all the quotes right now, but I'm sure in my editing self I'll put like a line of just like streaming and like just streaming. What are they called? Just there's gonna be a little banner at the bottom, and it's just gonna keep going of just different quotes from the book that are amazing. And I'm rambling about him, but again, it is unfair for an author to ask you what your favorite quote of their book is, because if it's your favorite book, there's probably like 100. And again, if you look at this book, there's like so many books. There's so many books in here. There's so many quotes in here that I just like, I'm obsessed with. Like, it's not fair. Like, one of my favorites is that, I can't even quote it word for word, but it's, happy and sad at the same time. I'm trying to think of how that might be. Something like that. Something on those lines, but it's like, how does this guy come up with these these phrases and words. Like, he was so cool. I'm obsessed. I'm sorry. Continuing on. I should have saved that one for the end, honestly, because what? This one I'm gonna kind of just throw in there because I need to take a breather from talking about Stephen Chbosky for so long. I'm gonna be editing that and I'll be like, Kylie, everyone hates you. But this is a book I didn't know was going to be at BookCon, but I just got there and I wanted to go try to get another copy of a book that I'm going to show you in a little bit because I have a friend who really wants to read it, but I don't think I trust anybody with my arcs because, like, you literally cannot replace an arc, especially if it's personalized to you, and if it gets ruined, it gets ruined. Like, you can't buy an arc, or you're not supposed to buy an arc. I mean, people do buy arcs, but you're not supposed to. But this was a book that I didn't think would be there. I had no idea it was going to be there, and I saw it, and I saw the author, and I was like, heck yes, I'm getting this book, and I'm going to have the author sign it, and that is The Doggist, and you might know The Doggist from social media because he's on Instagram, and he posts all the time, and my mom's actually now obsessed with Instagram, but yeah, so I have to talk to the author, and his name is Elias Weiss Friedman. There's actually a Doggist Puppies coming out soon too, and I'm gonna cry. I love coffee table books, and my favorite coffee table books are dog books. I have Dogs of a Certain Age, a coffee table book. I have the Black Dog Project, all about black dogs. Some people don't like to adopt black dogs because they're scary. But the author signed it, and he said, I hope every dog wags their tail when you pet them. And that's the cutest thing anyone's ever written in a book, I feel like. And I talked to him about my dogs, and he was cute. He was cool. I loved him. He was wonderful. Next book that I have is A Good Widow by Liz Fenton and Lisa Steink, and this book is actually already out, so if this book looks good to you, which it should, you should go buy it. It's about a woman named Jax, and her husband actually dies in a car accident, and she finds out that he was actually having an affair with another woman, and the other woman was also in a relationship with a guy named Nick, and so Jax and Nick kind of form a relationship to figure out, what exactly was happening, how they had these affairs that they both didn't know about. It's a suspense book, and they don't usually do suspense books, but I'm actually excited because I love their writing, they're amazing, and I met them, and it was incredible because they're two of my favorite authors ever, and not a lot of people know about them, unfortunately, which I think is, again, like I said, unfortunate because their books are amazing, and if you even remotely want to read their book, I highly recommend them. And they signed my book, and they actually said they recognize me from my tweets and from my Instagram and all the things, and that's really exciting. I never thought that would happen. It was crazy, but they were amazing, and they're so sweet, and I'm so excited to read this book. I don't know how or why I haven't started it yet, but it's probably because I've been so busy, but this is one of the first books I'm going to start very, very, very soon. And thank you again to them. They're so sweet, and I will always support all of their books because their books are incredible. Like, please, please go read them. This next book is a book like The Doggist that I had no idea I would get. And this book, actually, I'm already sharing all my tips with you, even though I haven't made my tip video, but tip for BookExpo and BEA: eavesdrop on conversations, because you never know what you'll hear about that you didn't know about. This is actually a book that no one even knew about to begin with, but I was in the line for my last book that I'll show you. I was in line for a different author. Someone behind me was talking about this book, and I was like, there's a book? I was like, no way. And I was like, where is this? When is this? Because I wasn't planning on getting this book at the time, but I was like, this has erased everything that I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to get this book if it's the last thing that I do. Like, that, no. Like, and this was my first day of BEA, or BookExpo also, so, like, the books that I got in BookExpo, if I would have gotten no other books after the first day, I would have been fine, because I got literally all my favorite books and all the books I would have ever wanted on the first day. So I actually have a copy of Dear Evan Hansen. The book is by Stephen Levinson, and the authors or the writers of the music are Pasek and Paul, and Pasek and Paul and Levinson were there, and my book is signed. My book is signed. This was before the Tonys. So, like, this book is even more amazing. Okay, no, I would say it's even more amazing after they won the Tonys, but it's more just, like, validation that this musical is incredible. You didn't have to give Dear Evan Hansen a Tony, but I'm glad you did. You didn't have to give him a Tony, though, because everybody knows the musical is amazing. Even if they didn't get a Tony, like, But the kid in front of me had seen the show, and it was in DC, and I was like, you're insane. How did you... I unfortunately did not get a photo with them because they were kind of signing books really quickly and they didn't have very many. And actually after I got this book, I hadn't had a chance to put it back in my backpack because most of the time when I got a book, I'd put it in my backpack so that I didn't have to, like, you know, carry it in my arms. But as I was putting this book away, there were like 4 or 5 different people at least who were like, oh my god, where'd you get that book? How, like, and honestly I was the same way because I didn't realize that this was a thing. And I'm still, like, shocked. Like, again, don't sell ARCs, they're bad. Well, this isn't an ARC anymore. It's actually legal to sell this book now. But this book came out during BookExpo, and I was seeing it online, and people were selling this book for like $200 signed, and people were buying it. And my mom's like, why don't you just sell your book? No! Why would you sell this? No. This is one of my, like, most prized possessions now. I honestly don't know why I'm holding it, because it should be, like, again, in a picture frame somewhere, but this is incredible. If you have not, for some reason, listened to this musical, go listen to it now, because your ears will be blessed, I promise. The last book that I have, if you've caught a theme here, a lot of books are coming out September 5th, and this book also comes out September 5th. And it's by one of my favorite authors. I mean, okay, Stephen Chbosky, John Green, and then, you know, maybe a little Adam Silvera. They both die at the end. I'm still shocked that I got this book. This was the book I read immediately after I got it, because, oof, Adam Silvera just rocks my world all the time. I mean, there's nothing else to say. He's so great, and now he's working with Harlequin. He's such a nice guy to meet. Again, I'll show you all the pictures. I have 2 pictures, or actually I have a lot of pictures with him, but I'll show you the 2, like, posed photos with him. That sounds weird. People took a lot of candids of us, not like, okay, continuing on. But this book, if you don't know what it's about, I didn't even tell you the name of the book yet. Kylie. This is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. What this book is about 2 boys named Rufus and Mateo, and it's in a world where you are told the day you're going to die. What the heck are they called? Oh my god, what are they called? I forget what the people are called. Dreamcast? No, Deathcast. Dreamcast. Yeah, Dreamcast calls you and tells you you're gonna die. No, Deathcast calls you and tells you the day you're gonna die, and so that day you know you're going to die, and that's your end day. And so it's all about what you do on your last day and what you choose to do. And Rufus and Mateo meet through this app called The Last Friend, which is an app people meet up on to share and spend their last day with, you know, someone else who's also going to die on that day. And it's all about that and their friendship and all of the things. And it's called They Both Die at the End, but maybe they both don't die at the end. You never know. You just have to read it. Read it. It's amazing. He's amazing. Everything's amazing. It's fine. So that is all of the stuff I got from BookExpo and BookCon, and the floor around me right now is an actual tragedy. So I need to clean all that up. But I hope to film other videos BookExpo and BookCon related. I'm still trying to, like, decompress from everything that happened because I'm still just in total shock for everything that happened. It was incredible. It was amazing. But that is all I have for you today, and I will see you next time.